In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
Carb pizza is what you want. You need to check realgoodfoods.com. Taste is amazing. Oh yeah, it's the bomb. You need to check realgoodfoods.com. Free shipping online and in Kroger stores across the U.S. realgoodfoods.com. Woo!
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. I wanted to be here today with another episode of Jimmy Rants. It's what we do here on Instagram Live. You go follow me over on jimmyrants.com and you'll see that we do start live on Instagram Live. So if you're not currently following me on Instagram and you're watching this any other place but Instagram, go follow me now at Livin' Low Carb Man. That's LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content, just like JBell87, Deanna does keto, and so many other people joining us right now live. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 on Instagram, after 24 hours, it does disappear from Instagram, so you'll need to pop on over to YouTube to see all the past episodes of this here show. Finally, we have the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at jimmyrants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants is another philosophical type of one that I don't think enough people talk about as a subject matter, because I think it happens a whole lot more often than not. And you know, you have people in your life that you see as valuable friends. You have those people that when all else fails, they're always there. They're the helpmeet. They're the friends that stick closer than a brother. They're just the people that are in your life that when you're going through a tough time, they're the ones that you seek. When you're going through great times, they're the ones that you party with and celebrate those moments with. And perhaps you've had a friend like that you thought there's no way anything could ever happen that would break that trust, that would break that loyalty in the relationship. Do you know people like that in your life right now, that if things were bad, you call them first? They're the first person on your list that you contact. Yeah, we all have those people in our lives. We all have those people that we know no matter what's going on in our own lives, no matter what's happening, they will always be there. But I want to talk about something that's a little deep in this subject here today. And what we're going to talk about here today on Jimmy Rants is, how do you trust people again after you've been burned in the past? Because I sense that there's a lot of people that deal with relationships that go sour for whatever the reason. Sometimes it's something that happened in the relationship itself. Sometimes people are at different points in their lives, and things change, and priorities change, and values change, and they change. And so that person that you've come to rely on suddenly isn't reliable anymore. That person that you thought was loyal isn't quite as loyal as they used to be. That person that you trusted and entrusted with secrets and things that were going on in your life, that you thought, okay, when something comes up, they'll always be that friend for me. And now they suddenly don't. So this is getting a little deep, and I want to make sure that I talk about this kind of thing, because I don't think enough people value the relationships that they have in their lives. I have found over the years that some of the best relationships that I have aren't the ones that just happened and we clicked. The best relationships I have are the ones where I was loyal to someone as a friend, and they also reciprocated back that loyalty to me. And I think we all have those best friend type of people in our lives that give us value. They're people that we could say things to that we wouldn't say necessarily to anyone else. That's why you're best friends. So I just feel like there's kind of this lostness that happens when people find betrayal. And I'm going to be quite frank with you. Christine and I have had, in just the past 2 years, 3 or 4 of these kind of relationships suddenly crumble. Where something has happened in the relationship, either with the person that we were friends with, where it's not quite as loyal and trustworthy as they used to be. And it's sad. When you go through that kind of thing, it's really difficult because you pour your heart and your life into these people and you give them value in their life. They're giving you value in your life. And then suddenly, boom, something on a dime just happens that causes them to change their perspective. And I'm thinking of one friend in particular who, when some of the negativity really started intensifying with me online, we would always go to this person because we knew that person understood what we were going through, and because we had shared over the years, and vice versa. When that person had issues going on that they needed to share with us, we were the listening ear and the supportiveness to them, which is what makes it very difficult. And now one of the things that's kind of forcing us into our sabbatical, going away for 6 months starting in September, is we are the kind of people that if you're trustworthy and loyal, we are right back at you. And it seems we've kind of gone down this rabbit hole of a lot of people breaking that loyalty and trust that we once had. So you have people in your life that way, that think of that person that you think, oh man, they would never break trust, they would always be loyal, and you can rely on them right now. What happens if the day comes that they don't? Think about how you would feel. Put yourself kind of in our shoes of what that would be like. And it's devastating, guys. It's almost like the death of an animal, which I've had recently happen. We lost our oldest cat recently. Or even the death of a family member. It's that kind of loss that tends to happen, because you're like, oh my gosh, here's this relationship, and then suddenly it's gone. And it can happen in an instant. And sometimes it's an incident between the people that could cause that. That's not what happened in this situation that I'm describing. But it could just be someone else just decided to change the way they did things and their thought processes and what they believe. And it's tough. It's tough. I know you know what I'm talking about, because a lot of you guys have gone through this. So how do you trust people again after you've been burned in the past? I'll tell you, Christine is struggling with this immensely right now. She is like, well, other than Jimmy, I don't know who to trust anymore. And to me, that's a sad place to be. I don't think you need to go through life just being inherently distrustful of other people. That's not healthy. That's not a healthy attitude to have. I am the kind of person that likes to give people the benefit of the doubt. And so sometimes I make that leap of faith, trust in other people, even before they've shown it to me. That's just my personality, and I think it's the way it should be. But she's hurting right now in terms of trying to understand what's going on. And she's so untrustworthy of all of these people that we used to believe in. So now she's kind of at the point of, I don't trust anybody. And I don't think that's the answer either. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about how you can trust people again after you've been burned in the past. And I've given a couple of examples of people that we had trusted for many years to be confidants and trustworthy and loyal to us, and we've been to them, suddenly changing their tune where they don't want anything to do with the relationship anymore, which is just like out of the blue. And I'm describing it kind of like a loss in the family, loss of a family pet or something like that. You have a sense of loss from that. And what do you do with that? How do you handle that? For Christine, she's struggling because she does want to just totally back away from having any relationships with anybody because she doesn't want to get hurt again. I don't think that's the answer. I still invite people into my life that I think I love, trust, and respect. I've got a few new people that I've added into my life in the last year and a half, and a couple of them are incredibly loyal friends that I can confide in. They're confidants, and vice versa. They confide in me, and we're able to have this beautiful, loyal relationship, which is the way it should be. And I've already told some of them about these other people and the betrayal, and almost kind of going, don't do that to us. So anybody feeling this? Have you been through this before, where you've had a longtime friend that you thought would never ever leave you, and suddenly they do? Suddenly that trust is broken. Suddenly that loyal friend that you thought would never ever leave does. I think we've all been through that before. And there is certainly a great attitude to have about it. And there's an unhealthy attitude to have about it. And so I'm trying to help Chris right now understand that it's not all people. Most people are pretty loyal when they've been found to be loyal, and you're loyal to them. Most people will reciprocate that. But it does seem to be a lost art in this day and age. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants is, how do you trust people again after you've been burned in the past? And I say you don't judge future relationships with people that could be fabulous friends based on the actions of the idiots in your past. Because I do think there are people that sometimes they get too big for their britches, or life circumstances make them think the relationship is something that it's not. And that convolutes the whole issue. But I don't think you need to judge the future relationships that you're going to have based on the bad way that things turned out with past relationships. All right. See what you guys have to say about this issue. Tracy says, to forgive them is freedom. Yeah, and forgiveness is certainly necessary. These people that have hurt us, certainly there's forgiveness there, although one of them is extremely fresh, and so it's almost hard to, at this point, time will help with that. But this is someone that's been a confidant for like 4 or 5 years, at least, and suddenly, just on a dime, don't want anything to do with us again. And so that hurts. I mean, that's difficult. What do you do with that? But I agree with you. Eventually, we will need to forgive, move on. And you always have those questions. Well, what did we do? What changed in the relationship? Did we change? Did they change? What happened? And sometimes it's merely a perception of something that has changed, or a perception of something that has happened, and not actually something that actually changed or happened. This is kind of the interesting dynamic in relationships like that, is it doesn't have to be anything that actually happened. It could just be the perception of the person who thinks that something changed or something happened, and that's all it takes to knock it off the rails. I saw my mama go through this when I was a kid. She had a long-time friend that lived in New Orleans, and they were friends and buds, best buds, and one little perceived thing that happened totally derailed the relationship, and they never talked again. They never talked again. These guys were friends for years, and then one little something happened and never talked again. To me, that's horrible. Beth says, ooh, I got this one. Take nothing personally. Realize I allowed it into my learning experience. Nothing is done to me, but for me. That's good perspective, Beth. And you're a wise woman. I'm glad I got to meet you the other day, by the way. in Cape Canaveral. But yeah, it's a hard lesson for a lot of people to realize that what happens in their life and the relationships and the people that come and go in their lives, it's all meant for a purpose to benefit you. And so I'm grateful. I do want to express, outwardly, I'm incredibly grateful for the loyalty and the trust of this friend, and the friendship that we had with this person. I'm incredibly grateful for it, because we went through some kind of difficult, dark times there at times when there was nobody else we could talk to. And this person was that friend that when we needed somebody to talk to, that person was always there. And now that person has decided to back away and not want anything to do with us. And that's difficult. It's really, really difficult. Also, seek to understand. One understands there is nothing to judge. Yes. The book called The 4 Agreements was life-changing for me. Have Mama Bear read it. Yes, Christine, I will let her know about the 4 Agreements. That's really interesting. I've heard that name before, the book name, but I have not read it yet, Beth. Thank you for that. Keto Cricket says, I'll be her friend. Well, she has lots of friends, and thankfully, we have lots of people that support us and our work. But I think when you have that kind of really close relationship with people, they understand what you're going through. They have empathy with what's going on in your life. And then suddenly that person does the very thing that all these other people have done, that you went to them before for comfort and healing from. It cuts a little deeper. Val says you pray for them, you pray for yourself, and then you forgive them. It's certainly not easy to do. Yeah, this one here, like I said earlier, Val, is so raw. I mean, it's still in the midst of happening. And I think the hardest thing is it's not I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. They haven't said it that explicitly. They've just backed away from communication and don't want to communicate near the way they used to before. And to me, that's sad. To me, it's like, okay, if you've had that good of a relationship, what you do is you go to the person and you say, okay, here's what's changed in it for me. Can you help me understand? Blah, blah, blah. And I think when one side decides to just totally cut off communication, it can make it more difficult than it needs to be. And again, sometimes it's just a misunderstanding of something that has happened. And if you allow the other person to speak it out and then you're still not satisfied, okay, break the relationship, but don't just break it based on your perception of what you think had happened. So if you're just joining us, yes, it's a strange Jimmy Rants. We were talking about how you trust people again once you've been burned in the past. And I'm giving a few examples from Christine and I, our life and friends that we've had, especially one very recently that decided to cut ties, apparently because we don't hear from this person anymore. And I wonder how ubiquitous this is out there. Do you guys have relationships in your life where they've been broken, and how do you handle it? What was the situation? You don't have to get into the exact situation, but what was it? Was it an actual, incident that happened? What could happen to break a bond of people that have been loyal to you and trustworthy for you for so many years? What would break it? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I view them in a new light, look within to find the lesson. Sometimes it's necessary to just walk away, always with love, though never with disgust or ill will. It may be able to be repaired. See, that's the thing too. This particular one that happened recently, we still love this person to death. And in our mind, nothing has changed on our end of things about the relationship with this person. But they have chosen not to reciprocate that, and not to still be loyal, not to still be, trustworthy. They have chosen to cut off communication and pretty much leave us in the dark. And I think that's the hardest thing. I think we as humans, we always want a reason. when something happens like this, you always want to like reason it out and go, okay, what did I do? Please explain it. And you kind of want to talk it out. And in the real world, most people don't get a reason. Most people don't get that opportunity to hear what they necessarily did. And again, I think that leaves the door wide open to innuendo and assuming things, and then that whole perception becoming reality is in full force. It's a tough situation. To walk away with hate or malice perpetuates the low vibration. Nobody heals that way. And especially, Beth, if you have hate and malice because of the lack of communication or because of some perception, then once you show hate and malice because of the perceived change in the relationship, then it becomes an actual thing. Well, you were ugly to me. Well, I was ugly to you because you cut off communication. Oh, but see, it verified my reason for cutting off communication because you were ugly to me. See how it can kind of cascade. So I agree with you, Beth. I think you still are loving and kind, and I am being with this particular person we're referring to. We're just being nothing but over the top, love, kind, communicative. It's just not being reciprocated. Deanna does keto. I agree. Isolation is not the answer, but their behavior is a reflection of their character, not the two of you. And I agree with that, Deanna. Thank you for that encouragement. Because literally nothing has changed on our end of things. And if it is some kind of a perceived betrayal that this person sees that we did to them, I would just hope that the adult thing to do would be tell us, what did we do? And then offer an opportunity for us to respond to that charge. And perhaps the perception that they had isn't the reality in their mind right now. And this is something I talk about pretty often on these deeper Jimmy rants like this, is I think sometimes we look into things through our own eyes and through our own worldview, and not with the intention of what the person is actually doing. And so that misinterpretation of what's actually being communicated and done can lead to strife. And so if you have this long-time loyal relationship and you start hearing things and you're not like actually talking to that person, you hear innuendo and it becomes the reality in your mind. That's what you believe. How do you undo that? Well, the way you undo that is communicate. If this person's been loyal and respectful and loving as a friend, why would they not go to that person? So that's why I always, when I hear something about a friend, and I fell for this a couple of years ago. Somebody said something about a really respected friend that I had, and without checking in with that person to verify that they said the things that this person said they said about me, I just believed it. And I had to later go back, apologize to that person, and make amends. And now the friendship and relationship and loyalty is back on. But I could have let the influence of a third party change my mind about them. And it did. It's exactly what happened, until I went to them and went, this is what was said. And this person was like, no, I didn't say anything like that. See how it can happen? So I'm wondering if this broken relationship recently with me and Christine, that this person, they might have heard something and then they just believed it without coming to us. I hope that's not true. And hopefully, if it is true, they come to us and eventually try to mend things. Darla Daisy says, indeed it hurts. It makes you wonder about your judgment, at least for me. Yeah, and again, Christine's having a hard time with this because she's like, what did we do? Could we have done something differently? And I'm thinking, if you don't know what you did, what would you change? How would you know what to do differently? That's the difficult part of these relationship things. And I think you guys know I'm all about relationships. I'm all about being that person for other people. And I don't talk about this a lot, but behind the scenes, I mentor quite a few people in the keto space, offering them business advice, offering them advice on podcasting, and I do all that to try to be that trustworthy friend for a lot of them. And I've got some really great relationships in that realm that I'm so happy to continue to cultivate. But I'm sure at some point some of those people will betray me, and they have actually. Which is the interesting thing about this world, is if everybody treated other people the way you want to be treated yourself, none of this stuff would ever happen. You would help people. You wouldn't have any qualms about helping people. And you'd have some loyal friendships and relationships. And unfortunately, I think not as many people value those things as they once did. Val says, a wise lady once told me sometimes God brings people into our lives for only a season. Yeah, and I agree with that, Val. I think back through my life, and there were a lot of people that were in my life for a great season to progress me along to get to the next level of my life. And here's the thing. Here's one thing how you trust people again after you've been burned in the past. You don't rely on people as much. Maybe you become that friend for people, kind of like what I do, mentoring people with business and podcasting and different things. I become that trusted friend to them. And then if at some point they want to reciprocate that, great. But there's no expectation level of that. And I'm seeing that now, by the way, of one person in particular that I've poured a lot into, helping this person. They're wanting to write a book, they want to podcast, they want to do all these things and kind of do the work to do that. And I've done my best to try to help this person flourish. And so starting to see some of that reciprocation of the loyalty that I've shown to them coming back to me. So it's a beautiful thing when you have those really good, strong relationships like that. It helps rebuild trust in people again after you have been burned in the past. This kind of rant is my jam. Well, thank you, Beth. People do things based on their own baggage and understanding and not yours. And I understand that. And again, with this recent broken relationship, I don't know what has happened in this person's life. And I would have hoped that if something changed in their philosophy or in their life, that they would have come to me as a confidant, and perhaps the reciprocation of that confidence and trust and all that didn't come back to me. And again, this person I know has also had lots of people burn them. And so maybe they thought that me and Christine were being the same way as some of the other people that burned them. Trust me, when you're in this position of notoriety, people know who you are, and this person that broke this relationship is also very well known, has notoriety, has success. It can be difficult when you've had that being burned again and again and again so many times over, that you start to even wonder about the people that do love you and do have trust in you and do have always been there for you. So I don't blame them for being skeptical, because we're now in that situation. It's our ego that wants an explanation. Our ego always gets in the way. And Beth, sometimes you won't get an explanation. It'll just happen. One day you wake up, suddenly they don't want to have anything to do with you, and you've got to move on. And how do you do that? Relationships are hard, you guys. And, people talk about love relationships being hard. I think some of the hardest relationships are those people that aren't your lover, but they're really good friend relationships, because those can be plentiful. And then you've got this handful of really, really good relationships that are friends. Those can be some difficult relationships because there's so many moving part dynamics to it that it's almost impossible for something not to ever come up. But we do have loyal friends in our lives, and I'm very grateful for that 3 or 4 people that if I was going through something, I could call them right now from a cruise ship. I'm out here on a cruise ship. If I had something going on that I needed to talk to somebody, I have exactly 3 or 4 people that I could call on the phone, and they would answer the phone and we could talk. And I think everybody needs that in their life. Now there's other people you could talk to, but there's those really inner core people, inner circle people that they're the heartbeat of everything you do. And you reach out to them. If you don't have that, by the way, start. It will help you. And especially for someone like myself, who I can't talk about a lot of things in a public way, because when you're a leader like that, you can't air dirty laundry always. And sometimes you just need somewhere to vent, somewhere to share things that are going on. And so those confidants become that. And I'm grateful for those people. One in particular, I'm able to literally call this person on a whim. They'll answer my call, and vice versa. Same. They'll write to me or call me, and then I will help them. That's the way it's supposed to be. Deanna says, I had a dear friend that misunderstood my growth mentality. I didn't want to stay in a dark place. She separated me from me. It was so painful. I love her still and wish she could accept me. That's a tough thing, Deanna. And that's kind of where Christine and I are with this particular friend that we have. I don't know that we necessarily changed. I think this person changed and has taken a different personality than they've had before. And it's tough because they're still that same person you love. They've just changed their mindset a bit. And like someone said earlier, maybe that relationship's time has come and gone. And I can respect that. But it still doesn't take away the pain of it all. R.L. Blackbean, I try to put myself in their shoes. I don't know the situation. Maybe they just have something going on for them. It has nothing to do with you or your relationship. Just a thought. Absolutely. That could be it, R.L. Blackbean. We don't always know what's going on in other people's lives. But again, if it's someone that's trustworthy, someone that has been a confidant, you would think they would come to you first with what's going on. And that maybe you could pray for them. Maybe you could be there for them. Maybe you could offer them some wisdom and guidance going through the situation. That's what makes it so tough, is it was just sudden and without any announcement, without any warning, just suddenly breaking off that tie. And it hurts. It hurts bad. I mean, it's getting Christine really bad. I mean, she's just at the point where she doesn't want to let anyone in to her world anymore because it hurts too much when you let them in and then they betray you like that. So I get that sentiment. I don't think it's the answer, though. To me, what it makes me want to do is be that friend that is loyal to other people all the more, even if they don't reciprocate it. And I think if you go into a relationship like that where you want to feed into people with no expectation back, then eventually you'll get it back. You'll get that loyalty back. You'll get the friend that you're looking for. But you have to be that friend for a lot of people for that to happen. The tongue has the ability to spew poison. It's in the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. I sometimes think this subject is my calling. I'm giddy right now and my spirit lights up wanting to encourage others. Well, you're doing it today, Beth. Thank you for that. Deanna says, amen, Jimmy, the golden rule. Yeah, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I think we forget the basics of like those things and those ideals that helped us when we were kids. Guess what? They still apply as an adult. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you is a basic life philosophy that far too few people want to do anymore. People want to do unto others as whatever they want to do unto you. They don't care about the consequences. And words hurt, actions hurt, silence hurts. And that's the toughest part. when you've had someone you've been able to come to, you can call on a whim, and suddenly they stop taking your call. Suddenly they cut off all communication, and you're like left wondering, what did I do wrong? And the person's still alive, so always check that. Are they alive? Yes, they're still with us. And then you find out, did anything happen in their life? Did they have a loss of a mom or a kid or something? No, nothing like that happened. Okay. And so you just kind of go down the line. And if at some point they just refuse to communicate anymore, you just have to move on. And I know that's so hard, but life keeps going on. Life doesn't stop just because relationships are broken and can't be mended. You keep going. Praying for Christine, she'll heal from this. Praying for the other person as well. Yeah, it's difficult because you want to trust people, and I do, by the way. I put an inherent trust in people, and you know what I do? When I meet someone and I see something that they don't see, it's in my personality to want to encourage that person in that area of their life. And so if I see potential in someone that I think they could do incredible things, Jimmy Moore is going to be calling them, going to be encouraging them, going to be doing everything that I can to help those people. That's just my personality. I never do it with any intention of ever getting any love and respect and trust back from people. But if you put that kind of trust and value into people's life, they can't help but reciprocate it back. And I've got several new people like that in my life over the past year who I've poured into, and they're pouring back into me. And I'm grateful for that. Anita says, I agree that relationships are hard. I quit a friendship without communication because I tried for months to discuss with the person, but they weren't willing to discuss. And see, if at that point, Anita, you did the right thing. If there is a refusal to want to even have a conversation with you anymore, then there's no sense in the relationship continuing. The whole foundation of any good relationship is communication, communication, communication. And the moment one side or both sides decides that that's not important anymore is the moment that relationship is dead. We do follow the golden rule. We do to others what we've accepted as okay behavior towards ourselves. Ooh, Beth, that is really deep. And you're probably right. There's probably a lot of people that have this notion of that they don't deserve certain things. So they do those things that they say about themselves to others. That's really deep. I like that one. You did well. Sometimes the only way to get peace is to get on your knees and seek clarity from within. Yeah. And I constantly try to check myself just to make sure, okay, am I still in line? Have I laid aside pride? Do I value what I'm seeing in other people? You know, I'm always constantly trying to do that. I don't think enough people check themselves before they wreck themselves. They choose to get wrecked, and then all those relationships become the casualties of that wrecking themselves. Kimberly says, my heart is just like Christine's, wide open and full of love. My feelings get hurt with the snap of a finger. I'm the first to try and make it better. Love them while you have them, and if they fly, love them. Yes. Yeah, we'll still love this person that has pretty much betrayed us, and we do. You still wonder why. I think it's human intrigue wants you to ask the question why. You'd have no heartbeat if you didn't ask those questions from time to time. Okay, what did I do wrong? Why is this happening? What's going on? All you can do is head down and try to rebuild the relationship. But if it doesn't happen, you move on to the next relationship. That's the cool thing too, you guys. I think we have such this narrow-mindedness about these relationships that we think, oh, well, this is the one person I could always trust. Well, who's to say there's not another person out there that you could have just as much trust in? I've seen this again and again over my life of people that I trusted and loved, and they're no longer in my life, but I've got new people that I now trust and love. And that's how you start trusting people again after you've been burned in the past is you find new people that you trust and love. And maybe they'll burn you too, but that's a part of life. And again, human relationships are some of the most finicky things ever. And so you just have to take them for what they are and enjoy the benefits of what you get out of them while they last. And I know people that have been lifelong friends, and to me, that's two very special people that have put in work to stay so loyal to each other. But quite frankly, those are few and far between. Most people have a relationship for maybe a year, 2 years, and when I'm saying relationship, not romantic, friendship, year, 2 years, and then something happens in the relationship, some incident, something is said, some innuendo, like we talked about earlier, and it ends. And that's okay. I think you have to be okay with that. But when it's a little bit longer relationship, it is a little bit harder, and it does tend to cut deeper. It's human intrigue. Our spirit needs no explanation when we're aligned with the spiritual purpose, says Beth. Maria says, love you, Jimmy. Thank you, Maria. Love you too. All right, guys. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants is you're going to have people in your life that you love, you trust, you inherently put every bit of your being into, and they're going to betray you. So when that happens, what do you do to pick yourself up from that and start trusting people again? I think hopefully what you've heard loud and clear on this Jimmy Rants today is don't stop trusting people just because of people in your past burning you. It is not the responsibility or the onus on those people that are new in your life that you have a relationship with or want to have a relationship with. Don't put that on them, what has happened in the past. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys here today on Jimmy Rants. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me over on Instagram Live. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man on Instagram, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Keto Cricket says, I have had falling out with friends, but my true friends always reconcile. That's the thing, Cricket. I think if this person that recently cut off communications, if they would simply come back and have a chat, I think the reconciliation could easily happen. But they're making their choice right now that they would rather choose not to have any communication, but it would easily be reconciled, that's for sure. If you missed the live on Instagram, you can watch it for up to 24 hours over on Instagram. After 24 hours, it does disappear. You'll need to pop on over to YouTube, type in a keyword, search Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show is in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. Deanna says, love it, Jimmy. Thank you. You're welcome. I don't like necessarily having to do these kind of rants because I'd rather talk about nutrition and health, but this downtime, guys, has made me really be very retrospective. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love being retrospective, but in it, I just feel like I'm allowing my brain to think about things that I've just suppressed and haven't really articulated. So it's kind of fun to be able to have it all, kind of the juices flowing, and now articulating all these ideas. Can you imagine what those first few Jimmy Rants are going to be like when I get back from my 6-month sabbatical? It's going to be like, I'll be Yoda. Oh, you need to watch, I see. I don't know how to do Yoda. What am I doing? So that's it, you guys. We'll see you again real soon. Bye.